If you are JC1 taking H2 Chemistry, I have a very important message for you because H2 Chemistry will never be this easy again. But before that, this is Yao Le from Vantage Tutor, a class above the rest. And I'm a full-time tutor based in Singapore with a tuition center at Boon Keng. I have tutored students from PSLE all the way to A-levels in both math and sciences, and that includes chemistry. And maybe some of you have already met me. Maybe some of you have already seen my content, where I'm known to be the guy on TikTok who reviews prelim paper on my original series Prelim Paper Review since 2022. Every year towards crunch time, I'll sieve out prelim papers to recommend to students to attempt by ranking them through my 3 matrices. And based on my humbling interaction with y'all, it's good to know that you have benefited from it. And in my years of doing content for the A-level students, and in my years of tutoring the A-level students, I realized this will be the most crucial period for the H2 Chemistry students who are in J1. H2 Chemistry will not feel this easy ever again. H2 Chemistry will not feel this calm ever again. You should not waste this opportunity. Because every year, I see the same thing. At the start of JC1, they relax, they think that it is okay, I can still try to find my rhythm, and then towards October, when their promo is coming, they start to panic. And this is precisely what this video is about. And I'm telling you, the difference starts now, it starts today. Firstly, why would it feel easy right now? Simply because of the topics tested, simply because the teachers and the school is giving you a chance. The first few topics in JC1 for H2 Chemistry are largely the same throughout all 17 JCs. All of them are going to start with either mole concept, atomic structure and redox, before moving on to your chem bonding. And no surprise, those are your first few topics tested for your very first WA1. And let's be real, you have learned chemistry in the past 4 years in secondary school and you realize mole concept and atomic structure are as easy as it can get. They are usually not the most intense in terms of knowledge, even so for the A-levels. And therefore the lessons are going to feel very much like a walk in the park, the tutorials are going to feel easy, and then your WA1 based on all these topics are supposed to be the one that will help you push up to an A or even get you across the mark in order to promote to a JC2. And do you know why the teachers are doing this? Because they are cushioning you. They understand that coming from secondary school to your JC, some of you may not have even taken pure chemistry, some of you are not used to the rigor of what the A-level demands of you, and therefore this is known as the adjustment period. They are willing to go a bit slower, they are willing to give you a bit more time, a bit more leeway in order to master the topics, and they do their best by beginning with some of the easiest topics that you will ever learn from your H2 chemistry syllabus. In fact, some schools may even go further to revise on your O-level topics first in your mole concept and your atomic structure before moving on to the A-level side of your mole concept and atomic structure, so that you can see the link between them, so that it doesn't feel as scary, so that you can adjust better, so that you can score the most marks possible during your WA1. In other words, this is the training wheels phase, and the training wheels phase doesn't last very long. Take advantage of it, use it well, do it well, and score your A. Because, trust me, H2 Chemistry will never be this easy again for you. And the second question you will have would be, what is Term 1 actually for? Term 1 is for you to build your foundation. In fact, most of your JC1 topics are for you to build your foundation in order to get to J2, where questions, as we have seen in the past few years of A-level, they tend to combine the different topics together, and not only that, they demand and they ask of you to apply to a context to storytelling, as we have seen in other prelim papers that I've reviewed as well. In fact, like I said just now, Term 1 is about your training wheels, and therefore this period of time is really for you to build your foundations to make it as strong as possible before we move on to the harder topics, such as your redox, which is related to your mole concept, if not your chem bonding and extrapolation from your atomic structure. And for some of you who are a bit more talented, these concepts will look simple right now, but believe me, they will be the power, they will be the base of your house for us to build on in order for us to get to the harder topics such as chemical equilibria, energetics, and even the very intimidating organic chemistry. Trust me, organic chemistry is no joke. So now that you know what Term 1 is about, let me tell you about the most common and biggest threat that all JC1s fall into for Term 1. They think to themselves,
well, all these are easy topics, all these are foundational topics. If I don't get them now, I can probably catch up to them eventually.
Which is true, because indeed, they can be quite easy. And then they decide, I want to enjoy the culture, I want to go out there, meet a bit more friends, I want to make new friends, I want to even get a girlfriend or boyfriend, and I want to immerse myself in a new CCA, I want to find out who I am in this period of time. And again, that is perfectly fine. However, just like everything in life, there needs to be a balance. Because ultimately, this is what the average student thinks. For the stronger students, they saw all these easier topics and they understand that these are the easier topics. You know what they do? They do their very best for the WA1. They know that this is the best chance for them to score the highest percentage in order to score that very elusive A, such that it can push them to not only promote to J2 but potentially secure a H3 subject in order to boost their portfolio, in order to achieve their dreams. They do not see these 25 marks in the WA1 as marks to gain, but they see them as something to lose. Because again, if these topics are the easier topics in your JC1 H2 Chemistry, this is the best opportunity for you to take advantage of to score the highest possible mark, such that when you get to promos, maybe you have a bit more leeway because the topics naturally are a bit more challenging and the exam format could be a bit intimidating for some of you. And really, for the average Joe who wants to have fun in JC, is that what you're really here for? Or are you here to pursue your dreams of getting into a local uni, into that desired course? And most importantly, is this the trap you want to fall into? Only when the promo is coming, when you realize your foundation is not there and everything is falling apart? I don't think so. So believe me, don't fall into that trap. Take advantage of your Term 1. Because this is what's going to happen in Term 2 and after May. Term 2 onwards, you're going to be learning the major topics. Chemical bonding, which you think is simple like what you learn in O-levels, but really in the A-levels, is one of the most important foundational topics that will lead on to many other topics, especially in organic chemistry. And then as you move even further, you realize more and more calculation will come into place. Energetics, reaction kinetics, equilibria. All of this will come into play that will concern your mole concept. Heavy calculations that require understanding of what the experiment is actually about. And as you can see, all these are stacked on your JC1 foundation. All these are stacked on the JC1 H2 chemistry topics that you learn in J1. In other words, your H2 chemistry is like a Jenga. If one piece is weak, if the foundation is not there, and your teacher or examiner chooses to poke a hole in your Jenga tower, everything collapses, everything falls apart, together with your grades. And this is the worst time ever, because students start panicking, parents start calling me, and you are looking for emergency tuition. And to be fair, nobody wants to be behind a Jenga tower that's going to collapse on you. So don't be that guy. Work hard for your Term 1, take advantage of your WA1. And so you've decided you don't want to be an average student. You want to be a strong student. Congratulations! I have just the 3 steps for you to do. Because from my years of experience teaching A-level students in H2 chemistry, these are what the strong students do religiously in order to achieve that very elusive A for their promo exams and eventually their A-levels. Number 1, they do not worry about overlearning. Yes, mole concept, atomic structure, redox, those can be very simple topics, especially once you move on to JC2. And they are simple precisely because these students have spent the time ahead to make sure that they study and master every concept there is in this chapter. From the smallest of concepts to refining their answers to be the sharpest possible. They do not just think to themselves that these are topics that are easy and therefore getting a 60% right now is good enough for them. No. They want that A, and it's not just 70%, they're aiming for 80% so that they know they have a good foundation to build their Jenga on. In other words, they try to maximize the number of marks that they can score from WA1 because they foresee that WA2, WA3, and even for your promos. That's when they'll start to lose marks, and that's when they realize that WA1 is going to compensate for those inevitable mistakes. But just learning it is not good enough for them. Very often, these strong students want to ensure that they truly understand. They make sure that they are able to explain their answers, they make sure that they are able to explain their concepts and their rationale clearly, not just in words, but on paper. Because for topics like atomic structure, if your phrasing is a bit off, as much as the idea is correct, it doesn't translate well to an examiner, and therefore in your JC, in your schools, you will know your teachers are a bit stricter with the answering techniques. And therefore that's the pitfall where most students will lose the marks but not for the stronger students. They ensure that they communicate with someone who is clearly more experienced than them, not just verbally of their answer, but also written down so that they know they're on the right track. And this is not just limited to explanation, even your calculations. Remember, your mole concept and redox in your A level can be quite long-winded. There could be many steps. So it's not just about calculations anymore, it's not just about the final answers anymore, it's also about presenting statements, it's also about labeling certain statements, certain equations, even the figures that you use. Standard form is usually the way to go. Are you familiar with that? And this is told to me by one of my strongest students. He said that if he cannot explain it, he doesn't understand it well enough. And that's where we get to the last step, where I see most strong students tend to do. They have a weekly review. They ensure that at the end of the week, whatever they have done so far in school, they check in on themselves to find out whether they really understood, and most importantly, even if they have understood, can they present the answers well? And even if they have presented the answers well, can they do it again after some time to ensure that they have not forgotten? And this comes down to not just doing tutorials, it's also trying some of the supplementary questions. Because again, don't forget, JC is not just about studying, there's a level of balance. But it's always good to do a bit more, just a bit more. Maybe just one of the supplementary questions that your school put at the back that your teacher is not going to go through, but he feels is useful for you. Just do one of them, get it correct, and you know you're good. This is precisely what I do at my tuition center. I'm always ensuring that my JC1s in Term 1 are set the right foundations so that I direct them towards their A so that we can ensure that we can score that A for the promo exams. We always ensure sufficient practice. We always ensure that students get to contribute their answers. Students are heard in terms of their opinions about a certain answer so that they can verify whether they've really understood the concept. Because as much as you read it, you don't know until you verbalize it to me. And that's what my classes are about. They are small so that every student can be heard, so that every student feel like they are heard, so that every student feel understood. And not only that, our work is not just restricted to within the tuition class. I also have my weekly planner where I give out to every student, and in each of the week there will be 4 pages, 2 pages for them to write their notes and the learning objectives I ask of them, and then a motivational quote followed by a supplementary question with the answers fully explained and uploaded onto YouTube only for their eyes. All this is to ensure that not only do they understand in my class, not only have they taken notes of the important concepts that I want them to take note of, but also ensuring that they do not forget what we have learned together by trying a question that I have picked out based on my experience of reviewing many exam papers, so that they know the question that they have done in front of them, if they get it correct, they have indeed mastered the chapter. Because ultimately, Term 1 is not about rushing, it's about setting the foundation. It's about taking advantage of the easier topics so that you score the highest possible mark for your WA1. We don't want to rush. We want to ensure that the base of Jenga is stable and our foundation is strong before we tackle the harder topics, so that when we get to the harder topics, as our Jenga get taller and taller, nothing can make our tower collapse. So the ball is now in your hands. Do you want to be a strong student? Are you ready to start early? Are you ready to take advantage of the easier topics such that you maximize your marks for your WA1 and ensure that when you get to your promo, you have a bit more leeway? Because if you are going to be a strong student, I have good news for you. The JC1 H2 Chem and Math classes are ready and the full schedule can be found. So wait no more, sign up today and I'll see you there. Nothing else. This is Yao Le from Vantage Tutor. A class above the rest. Take care.